is an additive. That's what D2W is. That is mixed in during the ordinary plastic manufacturing process. That additive, when the plastic ends up into the open environment, rapidly makes the plastic go through an oxidation process. And through that process, the plastic changes from a plastic material to biodegradable compounds, like a leaf. It's then going to biodegrade because it becomes a food source for microbes. And that can be on land and in the oceans. That's what we do. We treat ordinary plastics at the manufacturing stage so that anything that's made using our technology, single-use plastics, it will then degrade, it will then biodegrade. So as we say to a lot of people around the world, we don't need to ban plastics because all other alternatives are not just expensive, they're actually harmful for the environment. Some giving out more CO2, some with much larger footprints, life cycle assessment footprints, but cost, recycling, other negative issues as a result of moving away.
How long's the process for the plastic to biodegrade then, if they use D2W?
We can make the plastic, as a plastic material, degrade to a biodegradable compound in less than 3 to 4 months. That is quite amazing.
That sounds extremely quick to me.
Yes, it is, because we can define the product that's been made, we can define the UV radiation, we can define the temperatures. But the biodegradation is a different kettle of fish, because for biodegradation, we've turned that plastic into a food source. We're actually returning the carbon back into nature. So the biodegradation would depend on the amount of microbes available at the time. Do they really want that material? Are there other materials for them to eat? Are they hungry enough? So you can never really define the speed of biodegradation in the open environment. But what's important is you've actually, with this technology, changed that plastic to a material no longer a plastic. It's no longer harmful. Nobody really worries how long a leaf will take to biodegrade, and nobody really worries too much how a biodegradable compound, natural compounds, and I think we've identified up to 2,000 different compounds that can be created through this process.
It sounds, Michael, as though you have found the perfect solution to plastic pollution, but the EU isn't convinced, is it? The EU Commission has claimed there's no evidence these bags will fully biodegrade in a reasonable time, and they're not a solution for the environment. How are you managing, or what would you say to manage those concerns?
Well, if you're referring to the SUP directive, which causes considerable international confusion, because the words they use is that they are encouraging EU members through the SUP directive to ban a product that they called oxo-degradable. Oxo-degradable is actually ordinary plastics with an additive maybe inside that will make the plastic not biodegrade, which is why the words biodegradable doesn't even come into it. It cannot be recycled, which is another criteria, and it's got no environmental benefits, basically is what the EU directive says. In other words, it's complete opposite to what's proven in relation to our technology. Now, our technology is actually described by the Central European normalization as oxo-biodegradable. In other words, it's oxidation that leads to biodegradation. But the same normalization system describes oxo-degradable, which is what the EU, quite rightly, is looking to ban. A product that doesn't go through biodegradation, it just degrades to microplastics, pieces of plastic, but it still remains a plastic. Our technology does not remain as a plastic. It converts to a compound.
I see.
But of course, the intention of the EU, through very, very hard lobbying from the organizations that create paper or that create crop-based materials, don't want to see an oxo-biodegradable product.
Why do we face such a massive problem of plastic pollution if, as you say, this has been worked on and has been successfully used since the 1970s when Aston University, I take it it's the Aston University in the West Midlands, came up with the technology?
Well, we have a huge problem with plastics. It's like with everything. We can see more, we can communicate more, and it's obvious that plastic is not using this technology. It's not being collected, and it accumulates. If we were able to collect more, if we were able to reprocess more, and if we treated all our plastics with this technology, there wouldn't be a problem.